guys, are we live? I don't know what happened here. It's saying an error has occurred. Please try again later, which usually means that the stream has failed. But maybe... Okay, no, it looks like we're... Well... That's not good. What is going on, guys? Can you see me? I feel like it is streaming, but the computer is lying. It says an error has occurred. So somebody just typed something if there are people. Okay, you're there then. What the hell, man? I mean, am I... Oh, it must be using the selfie camera again. I see. Oh, man, I thought I had it. Oh God, I'm so professional, right? Speaking of professional, though, I don't know. Something is weird, though. I don't understand what's happening here. Tomorrow we are actually going to launch the Conscious Crypto channel for real. I have. Oh no, what's his first name? Mr. Little from 420 Coin is going to come on and talk with me. The really cool thing about, and I don't want to talk a lot about crypto yet because there's other stuff, and I feel like I've gotten kind of like stuck on. Hey Clayton, who are you on Facebook? Because I know a couple of Claytons, and I'm not sure which one you are actually. So I did want to talk to you about maybe coming to Southern California if there's really work there. The problem is with my health, I don't know. Okay. I don't know how much, it depends on what kind of work it is, unless, I mean, man, guys, it's getting bad. I mean, I'm not, I'm trying to be positive, but I went to this lagoon to go hunting for an anaconda that the local taxi drivers told my friend was in the lagoon, and the rumor was that there are no longer any anacondas here. So just like 30 minutes of like gently paddling around the lagoon, I was like shaking and I felt sick to my stomach. I mean, I don't know what's going on, but I'm definitely not in good shape. So at any rate, I don't know exactly what you had in mind there, but if it's hard, definitely at the moment, I would not survive construction or something. So we were talking about the 420 coin. I'm gonna try to live stream it on this channel, but it's definitely also gonna go on the cryptocurrency channel. If you guys haven't subscribed to that one, please do. I think I didn't put the link in the description for some reason. I did put the Discord there though, and I actually have 2 Discord servers. One of them is Conscious Crypto and Investing, and then there's a group around this channel because I'm really trying to build community around this thing. You guys, I really, sharing the videos, helping me to spread the word is really crucial, because I'm trying to get interviews with the developers and CEOs of some of the crypto platforms that I think are really doing good work. And I'm trying to be really selective and only shill for the ones that aren't just using charity as a marketing gimmick, because I feel like a lot of them, they're like, we're feeding the world, and they're giving 1% to charity or something. And I don't like that. I feel like, I'm trying to develop a coin. It may be a serious possibility. I do have a friend that may be on board with me that has all the components that we need to make it happen in place already, but I'm not sure. So if anyone out there has, programming skills or marketing, or if you have ideas, and this is always something that I'm looking for. If you're motivated to try to make a contribution to what I'm calling the conscious evolution, and really try to have some impact, And especially, you know, the protocol, the idea is that we build our own personal wealth, gearing that towards, you know, empowering other people of like mind and having some impact in the areas that we care about. You know, I mean, I live in the Amazon rainforest right now, and it's just mind blowing that people are out there destroying it looking for gold. I mean, it's solid gold. Everything is already solid gold here. I don't know what they're looking for. I mean, I do, but it's just completely insane that, you know, when you go out into the jungle and, you know, day after day like I do, or even, I mean, I don't even have to go out in the jungle, you guys. I can go, like right now with this light on. I mean, there's a tarantula over there on the wall. I could probably bring the camera over there and show you. Is there every night. The tarantulas are like, they're like neighbors, because they always are in the same place every night. So that tarantula is always on the wall over there. One night he was in our bedroom. I didn't really like that very much. I mean, they're really docile and they're not very venomous. Show us the spider. All right, let's see if I can find him. I mean, he's always there every night. Oh no, there's no way, you guys. In the next live stream, I'll bring a flashlight because there's just no light over there. I thought maybe the light from here would shine enough, but it doesn't. But anyways, yeah, there's a huge one over there, and then there's a palm tree that I just know, like every night this tarantula is going to be sitting on. It's not really bark. I don't know what to call it. Like it kind of folds out and spirals up the tree. It's like sort of like bark, I guess. They live in the crevices of those. And so, you know, if you know where they are every night, they're just always there. And so what I was getting at, though, is the biodiversity. I mean, you know, everyone knows about this, but until you're really in it and seeing it, you know, hell, even once, man. I mean, you guys, by some estimates, the Amazon rainforest will be like the Sahara by the 2030s. That's not very long. That's not that far out in time, you know. I mean, that's like, so let's say it's the middle of like 2035 or something, 2038 even. I mean, that's, what year is it? Like, that's not that's not very long. But I mean, you know, just right by my door, there'll be 30 or 40 different types of bizarre insects. They're always different every night, you know. If you just look at like one branch on the ground, oftentimes there's, you know, 70 different organisms on a 3-foot branch that's only 6 inches thick. You know, lichens and fungus, mushrooms, beetles, all kinds of different insects, plants, all kinds of parasitic plants. And then you just try to imagine like bulldozers raising this stuff to the ground. And, you know, it's not really a genocide at this point, I guess, but the Chinese mines will, they'll just come through and like crush the indigenous villages. They'll tell them they have 3 hours to move. And if they haven't moved, the women will be throwing the kids out of the window because the bulldozers are smashing through the house. So, you know, we really have to stop this stuff. And, you know, I mean, I talk a lot on this channel about like elevating our consciousness and how, you know, healing ourselves. We're a microcosm of the macrocosm. And of course, that's all really important. But in the Hermetic tradition that I studied for many, many decades, one of the primary concepts is the balancing of the pentagram, which is basically the idea that you have to have, and this is something I've been terrible at, I'm trying to get better at it, you know, to balance the material and the spiritual and all of the different elements of our microcosm, and to harmonize them and keep them all in homeostasis. And I think that one of the problems traditionally, I do think this is getting better, but historically, people that pursue power don't care about spirituality, and people that pursue spirituality don't care about money and power. And, you know, because of the circumstances we find ourselves in, that just isn't going to work. And so, you know, that's really my fundamental reason for getting involved with cryptocurrency. Right before we got involved with cryptocurrency, my partner and I had been talking, and I think it was her that said, you know, we have to find some way to make conservation profitable. But, how do you do that? And so, and at the current juncture, fast forward 7 months, you have these charity tokens, like Yummy, for example. And again, as I was saying earlier, a lot of them are, it's just marketing. They're not really giving very much money, really, but that's relative. I mean, not very much money in the crypto world is a different, different thing than, in the normal world where everyone else, the plane of the normies or whatever, right? Yummy is a brand new project, and it is giving $100,000 a day to unfortunate people. $100,000 a day, and this project is like 2 weeks old. I think it has like a $60 million market cap or something. So the reason that I'm talking about this is that never before in human history have we had a mechanism that would facilitate the redistribution of wealth so rapidly. Or, say we only have 17 years or something before the Amazon rainforest is a dust bowl, right? How, this was driving me nuts just seriously like 6 weeks ago. How can we possibly raise money fast enough to stop this in time? There's just no way, we are catapulting towards destruction. We have, we have been perched on a perilous precipice. And I really have been thinking that, we don't have time, honestly. I mean, for I think a year or so leading up to the present moment, maybe 2 years even, I felt so defeated that I think, I didn't realize this until the other day. I had a psychedelic experience that, although it did not go well, really, it really snapped me out of it, and I realized that, how far I had descended and how much I had lost touch with the hope that I used to have and the enthusiasm. And part of that, aside from dropping acid, cryptocurrency is the other thing that really, inspired me to have hope that we could really have some impact. I mean, $100,000 a day. And so one of my plans is to try to create a coin and use that. I mean, they're probably already rainforest conservation coins, but there's a new one called Hakuna Matata that just released, and their thing is to target underserved markets, not markets, but charities. And so I was thinking something along, well, don't lose all of your hope and enthusiasm. And, like when you seriously, like you think nothing could possibly come along that could change this after all this time. Think about this, and this hurts me, severely to even think about, but a while back I invested in ADA, and we only had a tiny little bit of money to put in there, and everyone was expecting it to do something within a month, and it didn't. The other possibility was Matic, and I was gonna put like $500. $116 at that time is now $1 million. That was only a couple of months ago. So, if you're losing hope, I mean, I know money isn't everything, but it definitely is a huge part of it. If you can extricate yourself from all of your stresses and all of your limitations, and of course people say like money doesn't necessarily do that, but I disagree. It depends on your frame of mind. If you are very material and you are pursuing money just for the sake of money, you'll find that once you have the money, you still just don't know what the hell to do with yourself, and it doesn't really matter that much. But I think if you're purpose driven, if you know what if you're in tune with your higher purpose, and then you come into a bunch of money, I don't think you really have to worry about the pitfalls of money. You're gonna do the right thing with it. So, at any rate, that's the main reason I'm trying to start the coin, is because it occurred to me, like the indigenous here, the Chinese are like literally running their, I don't even know what to call their huts, I guess, thatch houses, over with bulldozers. If there was an ayahuasca coin, or I was thinking like an ayahuasca exchange maybe, you know, because they have exchanges now that are connected to tokens, a primary token, but then they host like other tokens. And then within that, there could be like a Shuar token and a Warani token and a token to benefit the different tribes. And so, you know, we would have like a website that explained exactly what kind of projects the different indigenous groups were working on. And so you could select exactly where your money was going. And another thing about the beauty of the blockchain activism, I guess we could call it, is that you can actually see with your own two eyes whether or not the money is getting donated and who it is going to. And so I think that, you know, having this like to the ability to choose personally exactly down to the community members, you know, to see the faces of the specific people that you're helping, and the communities. I really think it's a really powerful idea, and I'm really hoping. I mean, I'm pretty sure my friend that owns a software company is on board. But he's in Peru and I can't talk to him at the moment to make sure. But either way, man, I'm really gonna try to make this thing happen, and I don't think it's that difficult, really. And you know, you guys, I've sat and watched the buys and sells on the charts for these cryptocurrencies, and it's incredible the amount of money that's moving around. So I think that, you know, this is the one way that we can facilitate the kind of rapid impact that we have to see in order to turn this sinking ship around. It's really difficult because there's not only market saturation, but, you know, we've been scammed, which I couldn't believe. You know, I mean, I just thought I was too smart for that, and that's just something that only happens to like senile older people or something. But I mean, people are making dummy websites, so you know a reputable project, but it's not even the real website. It looks identical. They've copied the code. The only difference is it goes to a wallet and your money just disappears. You know, and here we are trying to save the world, and we have people stealing all of our money. If you're, you know, you really have to be careful. You know, you really have to be careful out there, you guys. If you need help, please contact me. You know, I mean, I'm relatively new. I'm not an expert, but I definitely feel like I know the ropes now, and I have learned some lessons the hard way. And I'm really serious about empowering the community. Do join the Discord. I didn't set it up for this one, but soon you guys are going to be able to talk to me during the live stream, just like in a Discord, only we'll also have video. What does that say? Cool live music. Yeah, maybe I'll play something. I'm really not feeling well, but yeah, man, yeah, you really have to be careful in the crypto world. Okay, so the indigenous medicine, I want to make sure we get to everything. And I was like thinking before I started, I don't want to just ramble about crypto again, you know. Tomorrow, though, if you guys are interested in this, check out 420 coin. It's not the 420X coin, which was, I think, maybe a scam or a rug pull. This is a group of people whose friend was severely injured, and they're trying to raise money to help him and also to encourage research. Another area where I'm really cynical, I mean, we had a discussion the other day, me and the creator of the coin, the CEO, and he was saying that, you know, we just want to raise money for research so that we can convince the federal government. And it's like, man, that's not it. That's not it. I'm not saying I totally do support the effort. Don't get me wrong, but people are just naive, extremely naive. The government never banned cannabis because they thought it was bad for people. That's got nothing to do with it. You know, like I'm always saying about psychedelics, what actually happened is the researchers said these are extremely safe, non-addictive, and they can treat. Humphrey Osmond was one of the doctors involved. He said they can treat every known neurological aberration or condition, oftentimes with one single dose, and the federal government got that news and sent people to shut them down immediately, you know? So when I hear people saying, well, if we can just get the research done, and that's always already been done, I think what we really need to do is wake up and have the courage to realize that we are dealing with something much more maleficent than some out of touch, dinosaur relic type. You know, like I'm going to say one more thing about the crypto crash. First of all, if you are holding crypto, if you are new to the crypto space and you are terrified right now, don't be. Buy more. Buy more. It's not over. You might want to wait because there is word, there's rumor that there's another big dip coming, that it's being done intentionally. I'm pretty sure it's true. So you might want to wait another day or two. I think he said that the 27th, actually, which is a week away, there's going to be another massive dip at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Yeah, they were, but only because the researchers said they were safe and effective, not because the government was worried that people. Also, they know, I mean, I've seen people that were totally matrix mind take a hit of DMT and then open their eyes and go, we're being farmed. And like totally, suddenly they just understand how the world really works, like just like that. And they're snapped out of whatever, I mean, how much money and time have they spent on brainwashing and indoctrination? And you take one hit of DMT and it's all just gone. LSD does it. Anything that restores neuroplasticity, it creates the potential that brainwashed people will just snap right out of it. So yeah, we are being farmed, sort of. I mean, well, let me explain what I mean by that. So a lot of people really scoff and they think it's ridiculous when people talk about population control. But population control has always been a concern of empire. This is not conspiracy theory. This is just how things have always been done. Lao Tzu was writing about it, advising the old emperors in China. Why do you think the Catholic Church, when religions prohibit contraceptives, it's because they want masses of underpaid workers. That's why South America and Central America are Catholic. It's by design. And the reason is that they wanted to have tons and tons and tons of low-wage workers. And now that it's overrun and they're actually scared, the billionaires right before COVID, two of them said publicly in speeches that they were afraid that the unwashed masses were about to come over the gates and eat them all. So suddenly the Pope says, oh, no, wait, it's okay. You don't have to believe in God. So in other words, you don't have to do what we tell you, and you won't go to hell. You can be gay, population reduce. It's okay to use contraceptives because they don't want the population growing massively anymore. They realize that it's at a breaking point. It's at a tipping point where there's so much pollution being produced, and there's not a necessity for all these extra workers. It's a lot more humane than starting another world war, which is another way that they manage the population. I mean, don't kid yourself, you guys. It's incredible to me too that people, will scoff at ideas like that when, like, oh, they wouldn't do that, or it's like, come on, man. Politicians are people that have already decided that they will murder children for profit. Every single one of them that runs for like president they know that that's the deal. They're not naive. You might be, or your friends might be, or your family might be, but they're not naive. They know what they're doing. They know that, at this point in human history, the only reason wars are fought is for profit for the military-industrial complex and to gain control of resources. It's not to protect, the Iraq war, all the reasons that they gave turned out to be obvious lies. So what I was saying about farming people is that they definitely, they know, okay, so you have different sectors of the economy or industry, and technology is going to grow by this much, and what would you call it? Like industrial, building shit, cars and factory work type stuff is going to grow by however much, the industrial sector. And then, so how many people you want to have a certain amount of money so that they can afford a certain level of education. So how many lower class people and how many people with Ivy League education, and you know what I mean? Like, they know all that, and they're definitely trying to engineer the size of the different populations and different demographics in order to fulfill the requirements of empire, and they don't care about you. And I have actually kind of a unique perspective on this because I actually grew up with the elite. I was born in Fairfax County, Virginia, right outside of Washington, D.C., and I went to school with, I mean, man, one of the girls in my class in second grade, they had show and tell where they would pass around like pictures or tell a story or whatever. And one of the girls' show was a picture of Schwarzenegger and Reagan at their house for dinner that weekend. And it should be noted that this was like before Terminator was even made. And I think Reagan was president, or Reagan was probably actually president. So that tells you like how long they have been grooming these people before they put them in office. Schwarzenegger was barely known in Hollywood. So I've literally eaten dinner with these people. I've heard what they say when they get drunk. They do not see, they're not, they see the average person like Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, or it doesn't matter which side you're talking about. They see the average person more or less the way that like a normal person sees some crackhead, homeless person by the trash can when they're going to the grocery store or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's absolutely insane that people believe that these people have their interests in mind. I mean, they dropped a nuke on a city full of women and children because Japan attacked a military base. I mean, I don't generally give any energy to conspiracy theories because I don't think that we can really figure out what's going on. But at the same time, I think if we hope to be able to have any kind of meaningful impact, we have to be realistic about how bad it actually is. And like today or in the last week, what happened with crypto, China said something that hurt, and then Biden did today as soon as it started to recover. And that's all very deliberate. I mean, these people are not as haphazard. That's the only way I think people are able to try to explain to themselves why the elite seem like such bumbling idiots. But it's not that at all. It's all very calculated and coordinated and intentional. Cryptocurrency threatens the elite and the banks, and they're already locking people down in their houses. I mean, that was, you guys remember all the riots and stuff right before COVID? Now it's illegal to gather. Like, I mean, I understand people not having a lot of patience with conspiracy theorists, but at the same time, it's pretty goddamn obvious that they are trying to suppress a revolution, a global revolution. And if we don't succeed in overturning the old power structure, we're all gonna fucking die. That's, or something close to that, we are not in a good situation with the elite, So speaking of COVID, yeah, I mean, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Look, people always get mad at me for saying this stuff, but I don't care anymore. I'm starting another channel for my travel stuff, for Amazon rainforest videos, and we got some really great video of monkeys pushing dogs like dudes trying to start a fight. Stuff like that is interesting and good. But I think we could have an audience that family channel basically of travel stuff, and then the investment channel. So now I feel like I don't care who I alienate anymore. It was bothering me that I felt like if I told the truth I was going to lose money, but I don't care anymore. I think that's what's important, is that I just speak from the heart in this channel, and I'll censor myself in all the other ones. I mean, I almost caved because I'm not in good health. We don't have a lot of income, and alienating people and losing money, because I'm saying certain things. I mean, this channel used to be like 4 times as big or something. It's not like I went off the deep end and said something racist or something. It was just criticizing like the Democrats, even though I'm not a right winger. It's just, some things need to be said. And people just can't handle the truth, man. It's true. Most people just can't handle it. It scares the hell out of people to have to try to confront the world as it is, and not how they've been conditioned to see it. Cognitive dissonance is something that is employed by the propagandists and the government very effectively, because when you have established the cognitive dissonance in people, if someone challenges it, the response is comparable to a fight or flight response. And so once you have conditioned people a certain way, if anyone challenges it, especially if it's easy enough that, like, they can just click away really fast and then never have to look at me again. You know what I mean? It's like, it's that easy to just edit to, maintain this like Swiss cheese type perception where all these holes everywhere, or maybe the holes are the part you can see through. Maybe that's a better analogy. But so about COVID and indigenous medicine, because I think it's important to talk about this stuff, and it's definitely a hot button issue that triggers people. The whole anti-vaxxer thing. I mean, I guess nobody really thinks it's suspicious that there was a massive campaign, a wave of social media content to the effect that anti-vaxxers are all idiots right before COVID hit. I mean, that I feel like is like one of the best pieces of evidence that it's some kind of conspiracy. The fact that right before every stage in the sequence of events that we've been experiencing, there has been a corresponding wave of social media content that is related prior to the event, right? So in the case of COVID, all of this like anti-vaxxers or morons just coincidentally happened to be a huge wave of that before the COVID thing. And the reality is that we can use natural medicine. And, I have a child. I don't want him to become autistic. I didn't know, just being objective, like I don't trust the establishment, but I don't just outright dismiss like modern medicine and science, and you know what I mean? I try to be balanced about it. But would you trust big pharma blindly? I mean, that is like the dumbest thing I could imagine. Their track record, what is that? Pfizer, I think, is the one that has like billions and billions and billions of dollars in settled lawsuits, and their profit is just so high that it doesn't really matter that much. So, I mean, I'm not really an anti-vaxxer, but at the same time, I have seen what natural medicine can do, and I don't trust them. I wouldn't trust, I mean, I've talked about this before, and I hate to be redundant on the channel, but I don't know who's watching, so I'll do it again. The pharmaceutical companies, and I got this information from an executive from one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies. He's now traveling around drinking ayahuasca, because he didn't like killing people anymore. But there are two things that really stand out. One of them is the fact that there's a conglomerate that buys up smaller pharmaceutical companies, and it's cheaper to just buy companies, I guess, than to do a bunch of R&D. So this company just buys up smaller pharmaceutical companies that have profitable projects, and they were raising the price of some of the medications. For example, one that the condition was 100% fatal if you don't have this one medication. And it was like $300 a month, and they raised it to like $500,000 a year. This woman's prescription would cost her. So if you're uninsured, you're dead. And so these are the people you're trusting to get your vaccines from. I mean, I'm not saying vaccines don't work. I'm just saying that I would not put anything in my body that was made by a company that would kill people for money. I don't see how anyone could argue that it's not fucking flaming fucking stupid to trust an organization that murders people for profit unnecessarily, because you can assume that the price prior to them raising it exponentially was profitable. You know what I mean? The other company existed. They hadn't gone out of business. So I don't trust them, you know? And the other thing is that they have this formula that they use basically to figure out if it's not that they are using the testing to make sure that their medications work or that they're safe. In order to pass like phase 1, the medications are actually only have to be like 10% less effective than a placebo. So that's the first, like, what the hell is that? And then if they do kill people or make people sick, they don't pull the product, the medication. They calculate whether or not lawsuits and settlements, how there's like, you know, they know because of the historical precedent what percentage of the people will figure out what is killing them or making them sick, how many of those people will act on it, how much the settlements usually cost them, and if their profit is substantially higher than the risk that they're going to have to pay out for getting sued for killing people and stuff, they'll still put out the medication. So, no, I don't trust them, and I don't think anyone should. I mean, it's insane, you know, and saying stuff like this, I know, like, people cancel me, but how could I not, knowing this stuff? I feel obligated to tell people. I mean, so here's what's happening in the Amazon rainforest with COVID. And I've seen this with my own eyes, and it is corroborated by tons of other people. Many of them have gotten the COVID vaccine, you know, they're not anti-vaxxers. They're people that totally embrace mainstream medicine, but no one can deny this observation at this point. Here in the Amazon, no one wears masks. Nobody. No one. And I mean, in the cities, sure, like some people do, but maybe less than half, I guess. And people have gotten COVID, but you know what happens when you get sick here? And this, I mean, I know or have seen it work for people with dengue fever, COVID, but most of the indigenous people don't even get it. No one gets it. Because the Chuchuwasi and the Cascarilla are so effective at boosting the immune system and you know, reducing inflammation and all of these other things. Like, no one is worried about COVID in the indigenous communities here. Nobody. And when you get sick, the shaman comes over and he brings, you know, not only the shaman knows what's in it. That's something that is really interesting about practices and magic. There are, and by magic, I only mean the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will, right? So secrecy is always a thing. And so, you know, the Shuar, for example, their plants, their knowledge of plants, very, very secret. They don't even teach everyone in the tribe. Only the most intelligent and able people are chosen to inherit the knowledge of the plants. And so if you get sick here, the shaman comes over and he brings a big cup of some very bitter, almost impossible to drink stuff, and you drink 1 cup of it every day for 2 days, and you're better. It doesn't matter what it is. So, you know, I will not get any vaccines, and I know for certain that there are plants that can do the same job. We see it all the time here, you know, I mean. So there is a problem with this, though, and this is something that I've been definitely brainstorming solutions for. these plants do work. They absolutely do work. And you know, aside from the observations that I've made and that other people have made, I don't think I actually explained when I was saying that, you know, there are people here that are not anti-vaxxers, that are mainstream medicine using normal people, that will acknowledge that totally, that they'll say things like, oh, well, the indigenous have their jungle juice, so they don't get anything, you know? And it's true. Like, no one gives you a dirty look for being an American here without a mask on. They're not one bit scared. And it's not because they're primitive or whatever, because they're not. In fact, ayahuasca has been proven to catalyze changes in the part of the brain that deals with higher cognition. So the ayahuasca drinking peoples are more evolved than you are, you know, if you're not an ayahuasca drinking person. They're literally, their brain has better a better CPU for processing higher cognition. What's up, Charles? So, you know, I mean, here's the problem, though. This is what I was saying. It's hard for me to believe that even considering the number of people that we're serving with the medicines that are being extracted from the jungle, how common is it here for people to have experienced DMT in some form or another? It depends on who you're talking about. I mean, different tribes have different customs regarding ayahuasca. In some of the tribes, no one but the shaman drinks it. And in fact, that is the most common traditional practice. I'm not going to name any names, but, you know, being someone that's been involved with ayahuasca since before there was an ayahuasca industry, at least studying it, most of what people think is traditional in the ayahuasca industry is just complete fabrication. Almost everything. At least it has no traditional basis. And people drinking ayahuasca in groups, and, you know, I mean, I see all these tourists like, yeah, we want to have a traditional experience, and it's like, well, then you would not drink anything, and the shaman would drink ayahuasca and then work on your energy field. That's what it is. That's what it traditionally is. It's not a group of people drinking ayahuasca and having a ceremony together. Almost nowhere, with like literally no tribe. It's a total like modern thing. And, you know, I hate to break everyone's hearts because I know everyone falls in love with the information that they get and they all believe that it's valid. But the dieta here, you know, when you're sitting around with shamans talking about it, it's a thing for tourists. Like, they all say that, all of them. And it's because white people would die and no one would know why. And so they made up all this stuff to try to protect them because nobody knew what the hell was going on. And so it is true that you should not mess with your serotonin levels and do drugs. And no one should eat processed food ever, really. But we got off track there, I guess. But the thing is that it depends on who you're talking about, because some tribes, you know, everyone might drink ayahuasca at some point. For certain tribes, it's only like an adolescent initiation, and otherwise only the shaman drinks it. But I think nowadays probably everyone drinks it. But, you know, if you're talking about the mestizo population, they're basically all Catholic, and they a lot of them actually just lump it in with like cocaine and any other drug. It's really sad actually for me to see the effects of Catholicism having like detached these people all from their roots and from their ancestors, and this belief that it's like devil's juice or something it's just a really sad thing to see. But I guess, you know, that's really all that I was trying to say about indigenous medicine, is that it really does work. Even for something like COVID, you don't have to get vaccines. You don't need modern doctors. You don't need anything. I mean, you know, coming from someone who is in bad health, it might not seem that powerful, but I don't have a disease. I don't have a virus. I did damage to my liver by taking pharmaceuticals from the modern medicine. And so it's going to take me a long time to heal that, you know. I'm not battling COVID or cancer or something here. It's just chemical damage. I have to rebuild tissue. So don't even go there. That's not applicable. And I'm really hopeful about this Shipibo lady that I'm going to see soon. Yeah, Christianity destroys everything it touches. That's absolutely true. I mean, I'm definitely one of, it's, you know, I mean, I'm against all of the organized religions. People need to pursue gnosis, experience of unconstrained consciousness is really all it is. Unrestricted. I think that, you know, it's not really that rare or unusual for people to be enlightened. I think that if we didn't have the intentional influence, indoctrination, and the very careful cultivation of the dominator culture's blinder people, cognitive dissonance ridden perceptual disposition, it would be the norm, you know. I don't think it really requires decades and decades of meditation or, you know, super high intelligence. You know, of course, it's a gradated thing. I think, you know, there are levels and levels to it, but I think that it's actually much closer to just being our normal state to be attenuated to that sort of thing. And all organized religions are designed, I think, to preclude genuine spiritual experience. That's the great irony of it, that they actually discourage it. Even Buddhism, I think, in the way that it's practiced by a lot of people, anything that has been institutionalized by any government anywhere or accepted on a mass scale, we should be suspicious of. And I think, you know, Buddhism gets a pass, and, you know, meditating is great, and a lot of, you know, of all of the religions, I would definitely say it's the lesser evil, but I don't know that it's not just another way to create conformists and pacifists. And, you know, the whole message of, like, don't think is not balance the pentagram, you know. I think that it is good to experience silence, and there's a voice in silence, and it's not exactly untrue, but it's very easy to take these things out of context and to end up with something that does as much harm as good. And, you know, I don't think Buddhism really should get a free pass. I think we just need to get rid of all of it, really, and take, you know, there are some techniques and some teachings here and there in the world religions that that maybe we should keep, but overall, we just need to find our own path. Every man and woman should cut their own path through the jungle, and you don't need to follow anything. You don't need to even study anything, really. Observation of the universe and a few basic fundamentals that can be taught are enough to catalyze the consciousness of any person, you know, especially if they're taught these things when they're young. It's really not that difficult to see that the universe is somehow a conscious organism, basically. Life is a dream, and we are an imagination of ourselves. You guys know Bill Hicks? I was trying to quote that, but I can't think of the whole thing. Nature is not mute. Obviously, I mean, you know, that is one of the craziest goddamn things. I can't believe that people still believe that anywhere. That nature is actually blind, and that the universe really is just the product of a bunch of random gobbledygook somehow just configuring itself. That it's, you know, it's even more ridiculous than saying that a tornado went over a junkyard and randomly assembled a 747. Like, that's less insane than suggesting that biological evolution is random. Obviously, nature knows that something is looking. I mean, how many visual signals do we have that have evolved? Why would that happen if nature didn't know that something was looking? I mean, I think that symmetry in and of itself, and the fact that symmetry exists in more than one system, should be enough to make just about anyone skeptical of the idea of blind random evolution as the sole mechanism of evolution. I think that the only reason that Lamarck lost to Darwin is that Lamarckism suggests woo to some extent. The idea that there's some kind of intelligence guiding the course of evolution suggests things that science is trying to actively disprove. And one of the unarguable points that establishes unequivocally that science has problems as a general discipline is the fact that it is largely predicated on certain biases. And you cannot, that flies in the face of the fundamental principles of scientific objectivism. Thoughts on microdosing? Well, studies suggest that it's completely useless, that it's totally the placebo effect. And here's how I think about it. Just to talk about it in purely neurobiological terms. Generally, when you have a chemical catalyst, if you there's going to be a certain dosage below which there's no effect, but there is a scaling. So if we know that, for example, 100 micrograms of LSD catalyzes neurogenesis 100 times, so you have 100 times as many neural pathways forming as you normally would. You have electrical activity in parts of the brain that we never do otherwise, ever. Not in meditating monks that have had brain scans, not under any circumstances. And I think that is an incredible, I think that's really it's not well known, and it's certainly undervalued that happens. Like, we have no idea what that means. I think I do. I mean, I think it's where the, what would you call it? I have a term I always use for that. The capacities of consciousness that that don't have mainstream acceptance. This is where they occur, and I doubt that it's actually true that we never have activity in those parts of the brain. I think it's just that even when master monks are meditating, they don't. But I think it's those parts of the brain that deal with things like precognition and telepathy and other. Hey, Mark. Yeah, I think microdosing is well. Here's the thing. I think that threshold dosing is going to work for sure. What bothered me about the microdosing studies is that it was totally subjective. You know, there's just questionnaires. What we need to know to find out what is an effective microdosing routine is actual measuring of neuroplasticity and neurogenesis enhancement, right? So that hasn't been done. So I guess that's a long-winded way of saying that I would assume that at lower doses, you still are catalyzing neurogenesis and enhancing neuroplasticity, but the research suggests that it's no different than placebo, people that microdose, and I also have noticed absolutely no change at all whatsoever unless I take just enough that I can feel it, which is what people, that's not microdosing, I guess, according to the standard practice. So, yeah, I mean, I would imagine that, especially something with like ayahuasca with the hormonal alkaloids that, I mean, in clinical settings, they've established that telepathy is a real thing, period, end of story. I don't know how this isn't acknowledged because it was the experiments were done by masters in Houston, both PhD medical doctors in the, I think the early 60s. The book was published in 1966, The Varieties of Psychedelic Experience. And I think that it just, it gives us the ability to receive signals and process them consciously that are probably usually only subconscious or unconscious. And there are actually, I think, viable theories about how that might happen. The Biophoton theory, which actually has gained ground recently. I was really happy to check in on that because a lot of the ideas that had informed my ontology over the years I've discovered looking back into these things that over time they actually have less support, like the relationship between physics and consciousness or subatomic particles in consciousness. It turns out that that's not nearly as supported by experimental data than a lot of people, like What the Bleep, that movie. I think it really misinformed people about what the slit experiment actually means, and that's something that I really took to heart, that it turns out is not really. It was actually really bad what they did. Yeah, well, Ben, I totally understand. Like, if you're too busy, you have a lot going on, you can't just be chirping at work or whatever. I mean, I can. I think that 100 micrograms of you have to learn. We called it building your acid muscles in California, in my bands and stuff. But it's actually a standard practice for X Games athletes to take 100 micrograms of LSD before, and they're doing all these crazy aerial 35 feet off the ground, spinning around on a bicycle kind of stuff. And it's considered cheating. It's like worse than taking steroids because it enhances your balance and dexterity and stamina so much that it's just not fair. I mean, I've known of people, hippies, that literally couldn't juggle without taking LSD. And we've all, if you've ever seen what it does to musicians, I mean, you're on a whole nother tier, completely higher tier, like, than you are otherwise. And people, I think, take offense to that, and I blame religion again for this one, because I think there's this idea that, like, we're all created perfect, and there's a misunderstanding that, like, chemical enhancement is like somehow cheating, and in my view, it's just like using technology. You're just using technology. You have a biocomputer in your head, and its processing power is significantly enhanced when you take certain compounds at certain doses. And so, to me, saying, like, why don't you do it without LSD is like saying, why don't you go to the moon without a space shuttle? You know what I mean? Or, oh, it's really pathetic that you depend upon a chemical for life because you have to breathe and take oxygen into your brain. I mean, it's just doesn't make any sense. And so I think that what's happening there is that you're literally using more of your, I know it is. I mean, the brain scans have proven it. You're using more of your brain when you are using LSD than a master monk is when he's meditating. This is like objectively verifiable, scientifically proven fact. Another one that is completely crazy is that Terence McKenna claimed that he gave one of the master Tibetan monks a dose of N,N-dimethyltryptamine, and when he came back, he said, that's as far as you can go and still come back. Well, the joke's on the fucking monk, because 5-MeO-DMT takes you way, 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 way further, and almost everyone comes back. Every now and then someone dies, but for the most part, everyone comes back. So what does that say about Tibetan monks as the goats of consciousness? It's not real, Another thing that Terence McKenna said is that the literature doesn't support that you can get higher with drugs than without them, right? And he's absolutely correct. I mean, when I read the writings of like Timothy Leary or Robert Anton Wilson or Terence McKenna, it is way, 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 way beyond, the Buddha or Jesus or, I mean, don't throw rocks at hookers is kind of obvious if you ask me. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that we need to get over all that stuff and be more realistic. I mean, I'm not saying that we shouldn't meditate. We should use all of the tools at our disposal to catalyze our development and to push the envelope as far as we can, as fast as we can. because we're in a tremendous amount of trouble. I think the world governments have gone rogue. I think that, no, I don't think, I know. And it's very rare that I'll say that I know something, because I just don't believe in that kind of subjective belief. You know, you can always be wrong. But one of the few things that I feel like I really know is that it is actually possible to have experiences of consciousness that influence people in a way that makes them more trustworthy, that you know, if you have actually experienced unity consciousness, it's not that you're just trying to adhere to some rule in a book, which is what religious people are always doing. You know what I mean? They're trying to follow a set of guidelines. It's not it's not the real deal. But when you have experienced the unity consciousness and you actually know that it's all just one consciousness, how are you going to make somebody else suffer or even take advantage of them for your own benefit? Because it's just you. You're the only thing here, you know? So I think that as those experiences are becoming more and more common, and also people, unlike the 1960s, I mean, these guys were like the first round of, I mean, the indigenous know what to do with them. But for European and North American culture, no one had any wisdom to draw on when it comes to psychedelics. Nobody knew what they were doing. And they still managed to break from the mind-forged manacles of the, you know, I mean, have you guys ever watched television from the 1950s? I mean, they're so uptight and square and hollow and one-dimensional. It's fucking crazy, you know? People associate it with like being wholesome, but it was okay to like drag black people behind pickup trucks and rape cheerleaders and stuff, you know? I mean, it was all a facade because they were so suppressed that you know, it came out as pure fucking evil, you know? So the people in the 60s, you know, I'm not trying to knock them. They still did a good job. But they were nowhere near the kind of threat to the establishment that people like the modern wave of the psychedelic movement are. And so, in my humble opinion, that is why COVID restrictions, lockdowns, that's why China and Biden are trying to crush Bitcoin by creating all this FUD. And really, man, there's nothing they can do. All they're doing is dropping the dip down so that more and more people can afford to empower themselves. They're just creating a fucking tidal wave. They cannot stop it, and they know it. And so, it's all really inspiring to me. And like I was saying earlier, guys, oh, by the way, speaking of stuff and crap and junk, COVID and lockdowns, you know, I mean, a lot of you guys I can see are well aware of this, follow me anyways, but just in case there's anybody that isn't, we are demonetized, so we're totally self-funded, and not only that, but AdSense actually, we never got our verification code, so they kept all the money from 2 years, even from like when I would do performances and people would give tips in the super chat, they kept all that money too, and they have banned me for life from ever monetizing anything. And why? Just because I say this type of shit. It's not like I went on some crazy drunken racist rant or something, or tried to provoke violence. So yeah, we've been censored just to the extent that we don't get any money for anything. So there's a wallet address both in the description and the chat for crypto, and then you can PayPal support. And I'm in really bad health. I'm trying to raise money to see this healer, and we have to take a taxi. It's like $100 because she's so far out in the jungle every trip and stuff. And also we're trying to get back to the United States because post-COVID, there's no one coming to drink ayahuasca. I had a job at this retreat up the street, and no one, I mean, they have no electricity. They haven't paid the bill. Like, no one's coming. So, or, you know, come down and see us. I mean, I don't know that I'm in good enough health to lead a ceremony, but I can definitely find you safe people. Also, it's a beautiful place here, man. The park is full of tame monkeys, which is a little weird, but it's fun, you know, to go and sit with the capuchins. And down by the river here, there's ayahuasca everywhere. I mean, it's crazy. All these really old vines, and it's just, the Amazon is just incredible. I found a cavern the other day. There's gold everywhere inside. Didn't touch the gold because there's all kinds of ancient stalactites and stuff. I did get some video though. I'll post it eventually. But yeah, I didn't want to tear the cave up, so I'm not going to go back with sledgehammers. Even though, I mean, man, it really, And it's crazy. I saw that somebody did notice it and chiseled a little bit out, but I guess they didn't see the rest and they just left. So, thieves steal. Well, I mean, it's not stealing. Take a little bit of gold from a. What is bad is to like go and bulldoze the rainforest in order to get gold, or to destroy the waterways with chemicals. I don't think there's anything wrong with chiseling a little bit of gold out of the rock, or, I mean, except in this case, I didn't want to destroy the stalactites. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure ayahuasca tourism is cooling down. Everyone has tried it. Everyone has gotten the message and hung up the phone, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I know a couple, before COVID hit, the ceremonies were getting ridiculous because there were so many people that they were totally overflowing. And, and I hate that because really, you know, if someone's coming to me for help, I don't want more than 2 or 3 people present because I want to be able to give all of my attention to a person that, and it depends on how much they need it. You know, if a person doesn't have a lot of trauma, and then they don't really need that much interference or any kind of interaction really with a facilitator. But usually people would, you know, there'd be at least a few people in a group that were severely damaged and need a tremendous amount of attention. And unless you have an army of facilitators, you can't really do your job. So there's so many reasons why I hate the ayahuasca industry. And not only that, but, you know, I know shamans that will conform to the expectations that have been created by the ayahuasca industry rather than actually going with their traditional knowledge. So it has really, really, yeah, really muddied the waters. You know, it's really done a lot of damage. We're losing a lot of tradition. For example, the dieta, you know, I mean, it's just a tourist thing, really, and there's a lot of stuff that shamans will do. Well, thank you, Mr. Charles. Definitely appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, you know, there's a couple of levels to this, and I think that psychedelics, maybe it wouldn't be necessary if we weren't coming from such a toxic, fucked up, empty, vapid culture. And we have, though, so they are necessary. I mean, and I think they all serve slightly different purposes. There's definitely some overlap. But there's sort of a protocol that I think can be followed that is really, really efficacious in creating or allowing us to structure our own perceptual apparatus in such a way as to facilitate the changes that we need to see. And so, in my view, ayahuasca is largely dealing with emotional stuff. I don't think usually it does a whole lot to reduce people's ego. In fact, I have seen one of the most common problems in the ayahuasca industry is these ego-crazed shamans. And it's understandable to an extent because people put them on a pedestal. They're calling them maestro, which is like master, you know, and if you're a native Spanish speaker, it's easier to take it in the right context. But to, you know, a white person, basically, if you're being called master all the time, I mean, I don't know how healthy it is. And it may be true, in which case it doesn't matter, you know. Which comments? You didn't mean them to be comforting? I don't understand. But yeah, I mean, I don't know that it's, I'm not saying it doesn't have the capacity to dissolve, not dissolve. You don't want to dissolve your ego. That's another bullshit misconception of like the new age spiritual community. Getting rid of your ego, that's another reason I'm suspicious of Buddhism. You need to develop a healthy relationship with your ego. But, you know, ego is not just about like thinking that you're better than everyone or being a narcissist or, it's also just your id, your sense of identity, your individual being. And I think that what we're really trying to do is get in to create a conscious connection between our deepest self and our highest fundamental purpose and our conscious mind, which is something that has been obstructed by our culture. And so ayahuasca helps you to deal with the emotional stuff. And until you do that, you have no hope, really, of being a productive human being in a meaningful way. I mean, it's strange. For me, for example, my mother was completely insane. And if you grow up, she was also the only parent in the household. And because she was antisocial, uh, I had like really no. Of course, I was an outcast as a kid too. Partly as a result of that and growing up in a really wealthy area, but being really really poor. And also just way more intelligent than the other kids. I was alienated for a lot of reasons. But I never saw what normal was, so I had no reference point for that. And because my mother was so emotionally abusive, I put up a firewall. I mean, I remember I wouldn't hug her or kiss her or tell her I loved her or anything like that. By the time I can remember when I like put my hand up, like, no, because I knew that I needed to protect myself. And I didn't know it, but my entire life I had this wall up with everyone. And there was something in me that compelled me to be more compassionate even than your average person that could feel things. You know what I mean? Like I have almost no sense of ownership, which is kind of a problem for me. But if I have more than I need to eat, I'll give the rest of it away because I don't immediately need it. And I don't understand. And this isn't like I'm trying to follow some rules I've created for myself. I'm trying to get better about it, because obviously I need money, but you know what I mean? Like I don't have that sense of self so much. And so all I'm saying is that, for someone with almost no emotional response, which is how I was most of my life, I was weirdly compassionate and compelled to try to break the spell of materialism and reductionist reality in people. And, looking back, I guess I'm saying I don't really know where that came from because I just had no emotions, really. And so it wasn't until I drank ayahuasca, even though I think I had achieved an unusual degree of enlightenment just based on how people react to me and whatnot, but I really had no emotions. I mean, in a way, I definitely didn't know what love even really was because I had never loved even a family member, not my mother, only animals. I mean, when my mom wasn't all bad, by the way. She had a big heart and was fundamentally a good person, but she was crazy as hell, But I didn't cry at her funeral, The only time I've cried in the last 30 years, I think, was when my dog died. And maybe almost a couple times tonight and the other night when I was talking about how we got burned really badly recently and lost a lot of our investment capital. Almost didn't make it through talking about it again. But yeah, I mean, ayahuasca allowed me to just suddenly, like, understand what love was. And it also was a testament to the fact that there is some kind of intelligence that is part of our universe, because the circumstances were just, the only time I had consumed Bobinsana with ayahuasca was the night of this ceremony with my now partner. And it was the last ceremony that I would do here in Ecuador. And it was the last ceremony that the two of us would do together. And it just so happened that the facilitator had a guest that night that had brought Bobinsana ayahuasca, which is a planta maestra that is specifically for opening the heart. And it was that night that I experienced unconditional love for the first time in my life at like 38 or something, you know. And it's strange because I've always been, you know, a person that's like, I help people, you know, I can't help it, I'm compelled to, but I didn't really care either. It's like, it was almost like a totally cerebral thing. It just made sense to me that we don't want others people to suffer, and you know, we're a collective organism, so we have to take care of the whole thing. But it's like not like I ever felt something in my heart that compelled me to do anything, you know. So that is the power of ayahuasca, you know. Not only that, but I mean, I was can somebody put Discord link in the chat? Why can't you do it? It's in the description. I think I could probably do it for you. So what was I saying? I lost. Hey man, it just like copied the. That's not. That didn't work. I don't know. What the hell was I talking about? Ayahuasca. Copy link. I don't know. I'll try one more time. I don't know why it just. It was like hundreds of characters instead of the link. Yeah, I just did it again. I don't. Okay. So yeah, okay, yeah. I guess I was saying that, you know, aside from that capacity to just suddenly open your heart, and I mean, you know, you guys, I had gone through decades of misery, and you know, I'd used all the psychedelics and meditated and done all of these things, and I had achieved, I think, you know, a relatively high state of consciousness, but I had no real emotional capacity at all. And I mean, I have to credit my partner to that to some extent, but I mean, to a large extent. But ayahuasca is definitely effective at reaching the things that nothing else can reach, besides maybe tobacco. Drinking tobacco is a motherfucker. That, miraculous too. And a lot of people say like, oh my God, that's so dangerous and dumb. And yeah, it's kind of dangerous. But if you are at the point where you need to drink tobacco, you might as well take the chance. You know? Oh yeah, I don't know. I couldn't do it. But so what I was saying is that, you know, the emotional stuff ayahuasca deals with. I think psilocybin, for whatever reason, is better at breaking down the ego. And again, I don't think that ego dissolution is the goal. I think that is. I believe in spiritual propaganda. I really do. I think that a lot of the stuff that has been put out there is deterrence. Like, it actually, a lot of the things that people take for granted are like standard fundamental spiritual ideas, are actually things that are there to preclude attainment and to discourage it. And I think that ego dissolution is one of those things. If you have an empowered, enlightened population with a sense of purpose, and the thing about people that have had the gnosis, you know, I'm always saying it actually does create people you can trust, right? Like, I will not steal from you. I will not harm you, intentionally at least. I think I've accidentally done a little bit of damage in recent history, you know, but I try. And so people that don't need to be governed won't tolerate being governed. And and there are stages to this. The emotional trauma and the ability to feel emotions is really, I think, the first thing. But after that, psilocybin, I think, is a very good connector and also helps more with ego. I have noticed that people that only use one type of psychedelic are often obviously missing the influence of the other ones, you know? And again, I think if our society wasn't so fucked up, it might not be necessary to take all of these things in order to get back on track. And different people are going to need different, you know, some people probably don't ever need LSD. Some people probably don't ever need ayahuasca. But there are probably people that don't need ayahuasca that could benefit from LSD, you know? And so I think that LSD is better for what would it be, like neurotic stuff, and sort of like those introspective, hellishly introspective, you know, it's like it's just you. These other like plant medicines and stuff have this feeling of being connected to something other, you know. Whether it is actually this or not, San Pedro has this like very specific masculine solar lots and lots of information. The visuals tend to be like really tiny little things, little billions and billions and billions and billions of little specks of stuff. You can actually zoom in on them, pull them closer, and look at them, and they're tesseracts. They're shapes that also exist. One of the dimensions is time, so you can never see the whole thing at once. It's always there, but because one of the dimensions is time, you from your position in time, you can only see so much of it, which is really a powerful proof of this idea that it's one thing doing one thing, because from a certain perspective, spatial and temporal are not actually different. And that sort of crazy shit can only really be taught through these experiences. That's one of the things about, you know, even Masonic secrets, or when they talk about initiation and how some things are not to be repeated to the profane. Part of it is just that there's no point. You have to have certain experiences in order to understand certain things. There's no amount of telling you the secrets of initiates that is going to facilitate understanding. The lips of wisdom are closed but to the ears of understanding, you know, the Kabbalion thing. Yeah, I mean, taking San Pedro and staring at the sun makes sense. And also, another interesting thing about these, the different, how would you say it? Like, the different, I guess, the spirits of these things, they're experienced by people in remarkably similar ways. Like, I had this vision of an infinite sea of, I guess, photons, little particles I was just talking about that you can zoom in on, and you know, they're like tesseracts, and from further away they just like look like little single units of light, like photons. And there were just trillions. I mean, I couldn't believe that you could perceive that much stuff all at once, you know. And I ran into a guy that I had actually given, he had serious trust issues. He was from not Syria, but you know, somewhere like that had experienced a tremendous amount of war, and so he had trust issues, and he wanted to do it by himself. So he insisted that he just drink it and I go away, which I didn't really like. But when I came back and found him again, he was just sitting there going, "The billions and trillions and billions. They go forever." I knew exactly what he was looking at, you know, like without question. I knew exactly what he was looking at, and so I think that sort of consistency also, by the way, lends some credence to this idea that psychedelics are not, you're not really hallucinating exactly, that they are turning off a reducing valve in our consciousness. And, you know, honestly, I don't know that that's the best analogy. I think that's the one that what's his name, Dennis McKenna used, and it's fine. But I think that the spectrum of potential, or the spectrum of perceivable stuff is so vast in actual reality that there really isn't just one reducing valve. I think that ayahuasca removes, you know, maybe we could think about it in sort of like in frequencies, like turning a radio dial or something almost. So it's so weird that I don't have a picture, but I do have the chat. I don't know what. So anyways, the San Pedro, I think it's like it removes a different part of the filter than ayahuasca, and psilocybin also, you know, and LSD is sort of just like our own being. It's not so much, there is an element of being connected to something greater, but it's almost just like you're just amplifying yourself. Yeah, having LSD is definitely really important. I mean, a lot of people in the plant medicine community kind of act like, you know, if a human being created in a laboratory, then it has to be bad. And I think that's a horrifically toxic way to think about mankind. It is possible for us to collaborate with the universe and actually create something good. And I think LSD is one of those rare occurrences of that happening. I don't know. You guys have any more questions? Oh yeah, I guess I was still going somewhere. So I was saying that the ayahuasca is addressing the emotional and the traumas, and LSD, I think, is sort of necessary to dissolve the programming and indoctrination. I think that's really its great contribution and its real talent. And also, here's a surpriser for you. Someone actually, I can't remember, John Hopkins or some big group, they wanted to compare the, well, I guess, efficacy of different psychedelic compounds in catalyzing neurogenesis and enhancing neuroplasticity, and LSD won. It causes more neuronal growth even than DMT. So that's another reason if you're a person that's prejudiced towards LSD because it was not, it is actually natural. LSD is really semi-synthetic. So you basically are starting with a chemical skeleton that already exists in the, well, yeah, that's the idea that we have to, I'll go back to that idea in a second, especially because I just totally lost my train of thought there. But yeah, the reducing valve thing, the idea basically is that, you know, I mean, we know that we perceive like 1% of the, I need to keep my PayPal address in your videos. Yeah, I mean, I put it in there. I don't know if it's been a while since I've mentioned that too, by the way. I'm trying to raise money to go and see a healer in the jungle, and I'm very, very sick. Actually, today it was actually kind of scary. And also, we have to get back to the United States, so we're really trying to raise money. Also, by the way, you guys, I didn't mention, the charts indicate that this isn't the end of the dip. Not just the charts, but other fundamentals. And also just, I think, some rumors of market manipulation that are probably real. The peak of the bull run for crypto is going to be July. So that's another reason I'm really cramming to try to come up with, there's a wallet address in the chat. There's a wallet address in my description. If you want to send crypto, we appreciate that too. But, we're demonetized. We really could use your support. It's really critical time for us. Oh, my recipient name. And thank you so much, man. We really, really appreciate it because I'm really excited about this healer woman. The ayahuasca she serves apparently is not, whatever works. And thank you so much. She's a renowned Shipibo healer, and we're not in Shipibo territory. Like, we're in Warani territory. Actually, if you guys, there's a movie that's made about the local Warani here. And this was an incredible bit of synchronicity to discover that, I didn't come here on purpose. We just kind of ended up here in this little middle of nowhere. Misawai is the name of the town. It's a Quechua community in the Amazon rainforest of Ecuador. And so the Shipibo are in Peru, and there, for a number of reasons, it's unusual to find, like, I don't want to say displaced because they're, they chose to move in this case. But you don't really find, like, Shuar people will not even come to this town. There's a little bit of overlap in, like, Puyo. I guess thousands of years of spearing raids probably create some tension even 100 years later. Well, actually, for some of them, it hasn't been that long. But the Warani here are one of the most recently contacted of all the contacted tribes. You'll see them walking around town with spears and in just like, what do you call it's almost like a thatched skirt or completely naked, which really surprised me. I didn't think that you would still see that anywhere. But they're still living traditionally, and they just come up in canoes every weekend to sell jewelry and like this bracelet I bought from them. But they are the tribe that speared the missionaries, and this is a great story, partly because spearing missionaries is one of my top 3 hobbies. Have to give it up though, it's I hear you get canceled for spearing missionaries these days, so I'm gonna try to quit. But so what happened, it's like I've met them, and these are the people like I was reading about as a kid, like the actual, I never thought I would be like living with them, like as like a 11-year-old white trash kid, I didn't ever think I would travel. We were so poor, there were bullet holes in our window all the time. The neighbors killed the little girl, burning my bedroom down before we moved in. And my babysitter was shooting at a guy that was getting beaten to death with lead pipes in my front yard. I didn't think I was going to be traveling much ever, as a kid. But yeah, I was reading the books about specifically this tribe here. So what happened though, the missionaries had already come and landed, and they had made peace. Everything was fine, they thought. And I think this was not really that long ago. Safe Moon Group, what? Yeah, I shouldn't have sold that probably a while ago, but we got scammed, and anyways, so let's stick with the story. I don't want to get distracted. Safe Meme, that's it, yeah. Safe Meme, by the way, speaking of scams, it is, if you guys are into crypto, it is a rug auditing exchange. So they're going to make sure that projects are safe before listing them, which it seems incredible that that's not already a thing. I think maybe with Binance it is, but Pancake Swap and Uniswap and stuff, there's rugs listed all the time. So I think that is going to be a huge project, and it is dirt cheap right now because they launched during the crash, I guess, and nobody's bought it. But anyways, so the missionaries came and made peace with the Warani, and then they left, and then they came back, and when they were leaving the time before, they took a picture with a Polaroid. They took a picture with a Polaroid and dropped it in a bucket down to the Warani, And when they landed, the Waorani killed everyone. The pilot, there was like, I don't know, 17 of them or something. They just killed everyone. And the reason was that they thought that the missionaries were trying to capture their soul in the Polaroid. And of course, the great irony that seems to be lost on everyone, you know, people don't understand that people that are still connected to the greater mind understand what synchronicities are. It is not primitive delusion to, it's not that they literally thought that the picture was capturing their souls. They knew why the missionaries had come, and the missionaries 100% had come to capture their souls, right? That's why they fucking killed him. And so those are my neighbors. I mean, literally, like one of our neighbors is the one on that side is from France, and the one over there is a Waorani woman that still carries a 9-foot spear with her when she goes to town. And you know, speaking of ayahuasca and telepathy, my son's name is Nagual, which is a Nahuatl spirit or shaman that transforms into a wolf or a jaguar. And so when we met our neighbor, whose name I cannot pronounce probably, I don't even remember honestly either. But when we met her, she said to us that we should have named him Camperi, which is Guarani for jaguar. And that was a crazy moment, you know. It's like, huh, well, we did name him Jaguar already in a different language, but that's the kind of thing that becomes routine if you consume, you know, something like ayahuasca regularly. Spearing missionaries, yep. So did I miss any questions or anything? I mean, do you guys have anything on your mind? I'm getting kind of hungry. It's almost 11 o'clock. I've been talking for quite a while, I think. And I do appreciate all the support, you guys. I know some of you dialed in, definitely trying to raise money to address some health problems and get back to the States. So we have a wallet address in the description and in the chat, and there's the PayPal and the Zelle. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them. I told the Waorani story. I felt like there was one other thing I was trying to get to. Ayahuasca. Is there anything I can tell you about it? I mean, do you, it's instant, but thank you so much, Dustin. It's supposed to be instant. It's supposed to be within minutes. It's not really dangerous. Ayahuasca kills 1 in 4 million people that drink it or something. I mean, it's not really that dangerous. If you have a heart condition that you don't know about, it can kill you. And yeah, sure, we can talk about mimosa hostilis. Yeah. It's like LSD causes psychosis in people that don't take it. Ayahuasca, the psychedelics will not make you insane. That is absolute nonsense, with a caveat. And, you know, unless you think that I'm insane, which I guess is probably not out of the question, according to some people. By some standards, I guess I would be a complete raving nut. But if you are not predisposed to mental illness, there is no amount of psychedelics that will make you go crazy. I mean, I literally, like, when I was in California, when I'm in bands, if we're rehearsing a lot and, you know, I'm practicing a lot, performing a lot, I will take LSD almost every day sometimes. Not every day, but certainly every other day for years and years and years. And the only consequence is that I performed better. I mean, it's just, you're just using more of your brain. That's all it is, you know? Don't overdo it. But you are catalyzing neurogenesis and enhancing neuroplasticity. It's just like taking a vitamin or a supplement or anything else, you know? I mean, don't be super stupid about anything. If you if you eat too much, you will die. You know, I mean, anything can be bad for you. Of course, I'm not saying that under no circumstances can you take too many psychedelics. But I am saying that I have seen people, and I've done it myself, that have taken so much acid all the time that if it was possible that just taking LSD was enough to make you insane, we would have done it, for sure. In fact, one of those guys, when he started doing this, eating LSD almost every single day, and more than I thought was okay, the consequence was that he developed as a musician faster than any of us, a whole big circle of California professional level musicians, had ever seen anyone develop. I mean, and now, you know, the studies have been done that establish why that happens. You know, he's just growing more fucking brain cells, you know, really, really rapidly. Neurogenesis, that's all it is. Okay, so the human brain has as many connections as the Milky Way galaxy. So when they say that when you take LSD, you are creating 100 to 1,000 times as many new neural pathways per second as, or by whatever metric of time, as normal. That is a fucking lot of brain activity. And, you know, you have regions of the brain that are communicating that don't normally communicate. You have electrical activity in parts of the brain that aren't normally used. You can't, a normal person in a normal state of consciousness cannot compete with that, you know? And I'm sorry, but saying, shouldn't you be able to do it without it? No, you shouldn't. It's just, it's like science, you know? You just have to understand that you're using a technology. It's like saying, can't you get on the internet without a computer? No, you cannot compete with psychedelic minds as a normal person. You can't. It has never been done. You know, there's never been a band like the Grateful Dead, Tool, Jobs and Gates, and all of the people that have led the Silicon Valley, the tech revolution. I mean, they did a study on LSD and Silicon Valley, and the result of it was that they basically said that it was built on LSD. Like the people that caused all the major advances, and it's just full of acid. You know, physics. I think part of the problem is that these things are so miraculous in their effects that people just can't even believe it, you know. But the evidence now is miles high, and it's been accumulating for decades and decades and decades, half a century now. And you know, one of the, as far as like evidence that, you know, really technical stuff that you think like, oh, I'm high, I can't do this. Trust me, the only reason that you can't perform tasks and stuff when you're on LSD is because you are telling yourself that. I will, you know, maybe I should do a video. I will. I'll do a live stream where, and of course this is only true to a certain extent. If you eat a sheet, you're not doing anything. But if you eat a reasonably high dose, like 100 micrograms, maybe 200, you're going to do everything you normally do, but better. Period. End of story. Every person, same, you know. And I'll prove it. But one of the best experiments that was done, a group of really, you know, serious, advanced, world-class scientists and thinkers were asked to take LSD, and they had to have a problem that they had been unsuccessful at resolving for at least 6 months, and 98% of them just solved it like halfway through the trip, the first one. So, you know, and I mean, one of the physicists said that he just wrote the equation on the chalkboard, and the part that he couldn't figure out, he just left blank, and he said the LSD just filled it in, and it was correct. And the reality is that it probably was just in his subconscious mind the whole time, and he had some kind of block, and acid being acid just dissolved the perceptual aberration that was limiting his capacity to perceive, and he just, there it was, you know. DNA was discovered on LSD. Francis Crick said that he hallucinated the the DNA caduceus on acid. Neurogenesis squad, that's fucking dope. Till we get our elongated skulls and brains back, baby. Yep, that is awesome. Oh, but okay, so I didn't actually address mental illness and psychedelics. I don't know what HPPD is. Hyper paranoid police department. I don't know. I don't know what HPPD is, but the evidence incontrovertibly establishes that psychedelics will not make you insane unless you're predisposed to mental illness. Period. End of story. So the issue with that is that if you are predisposed to schizophrenia or something, you're playing Russian roulette for sure, because the first time you take a high dose of LSD, it's liable to kick in. And it may be that you have never had an episode before. And so that is how LSD and other psychedelics got the reputation for making people go insane, is that these people that were eventually going to be schizophrenic anyways dropped acid, and then they, it's not precipitated, but they, catalyzed it. There's a more medically appropriate word, and it's escaping me at the moment. So yeah, whoever asked that, no, ayahuasca will not make you insane. You're already insane, and it will make you sane, basically. Or at least it will get you well on your way to being less insane. Okay, so I mentioned the plan, and I haven't said anything about it, and I have to go because I've been talking for like 3 hours, 2 hours, but that's long enough. And I can see that viewers are dropping off anyways, so in summary, we have the tools that we need. Certainly, we have the motivation. And, cryptocurrency is super important because it is, like in the beginning of this 2 hours ago, this live stream, I was talking about how we were, once you become aware of how little time we have to, for example, save the rainforest, it really just seems so formidable that it can seem completely hopeless. And so along comes cryptocurrency, where, Matic 6 months ago is now $100 million. If we're trying to raise money for conservation efforts, cryptocurrency can actually do it. The redistribution of wealth. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean, but I have been in like Discord groups where the people are talking to the devs, asking questions, and I mean, they sound like they probably barely have the intellectual capacity to form a complete sentence, and they're like buying Ferraris. I mean, it's crazy what's happening, and we can harness that to catalyze change. We really can. And please do join my Discord. That Discord is just my Illuminostic community for this kind of discussion. I'm really trying to build hallucinogen persisting perception disorder. Well, that has also been widely disproved as a thing that is not really a thing. Flashbacks are supposed to be mythological as well. I'm not saying that hasn't happened to you. I'm just saying that, I mean, what happened? What happened? Can you describe it a little bit? Like, what exactly? Well, it's just an individual server. You don't get kicked out of the entire thing. You can still join my group. Yeah, I mean, you guys, I'm not trying to say nothing ever happens to anyone that takes psychedelics, but people die in car accidents. Rock climbing is not illegal, and people fall and die and break bones and stuff. I mean, nothing is you know, I mean, you can slip in your kitchen tomorrow and be paralyzed for the rest of your life. Nerfing the fucking world is not a rational thing, and the benefits far outweigh the risks. And you know, the main thing that I'm saying is that they were never banned in the first place because researchers or scientists or anyone told the government that they were dangerous. The researchers said that they cured everything they threw it at in a single dose 85% of the time, and the government said, well, we need to protect big pharma, so make them illegal and put... Also, the CIA has been doing experiments with them since the 1930s, and they knew that all of their propaganda, all of their indoctrination, the religion that they use to control everyone, you throw some LSD at it and it all goes away. And they're not trying to have that shit. So, I mean, it's a true fact that you can get charged with attempting to undermine the government just for possessing too much LSD. So why is it that possession of LSD can result in a treason charge? Just possessing it. They acknowledged the power of it to decondition people and to free their minds just by making that law, you know? So, somebody asked me about Mimosa hostilis. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like, who cares if your reality... I think, okay, here's what I was trying to say about HPPD. I know how to address this now. Unless it's so drastic that, like, you're tripping so hard out of the blue all of a sudden that you're not safe to drive or something. And I mean, I've literally never heard of that. I think that what it actually is that you have turned the reducing valve in your consciousness down, and it's not supposed to go back up. You don't need it to be like that, and you actually don't want it to be, you know, really screening out all of reality. You're actually trying to expand your consciousness, and when you expand your consciousness, you can perceive more of the universe. And so when you see these patterns and, you know, the like little fractals floating in the air after you've taken LSD a few times, you're not crazy. You're not still hallucinating. It's not a fucking flashback. You're just perceiving more of the universe than you were before. And it's fine. And as long as you don't just like let it creep you out, you know, and make an issue of it, it's just what happens when you expand your consciousness. And I think that a lot of people aren't prepared for that, and it actually causes some people some unnecessary fear because they think that something's wrong now. But I think, you know, one of the things that surprises people is that you expand your consciousness and the parameters of experience that are available to you actually change. And most people aren't prepared for that. They really do believe in a static or in a deterministic universe, and there are no energy fields, and there is no consciousness that is inextricably intertwined with the very fabric of the entire universe and all that, but there is, and you can literally see it. It's visible, you know? So the theory is that there is a reducing valve in the consciousness, right? Because if you could always perceive all of the pulsating energies and, you know, the tesseracts that are floating around in the energy fields, and you know, you couldn't hunt a deer. It'd be difficult to drive a car. Or like, so we have evolved the capacity to filter out, for example, also telepathy. The reason that telepathy happens with psychedelics is not because people are high and imagining shit. I mean, I had someone on a very low dose of mushrooms, you know. I mean, it's not like we're so high that we can't tell what's going on. I mean, I could drive or do whatever. I mean, we barely at all were having an effect. I'm seriously, like, it was like a gram of old, you know, old cubensis that I found in my sock drawer or something. It was almost nothing. We weren't that high. And this girl was a mile away on a mountain, and I was like having this conversation in my head that I thought was totally imaginary. And she, when I ran into her again, she knew everything I had been doing for the entire hour. She knew every single thought. And I'm not talking about like a ballpark. I'm talking like specific sentences, you know, the type of dog that I had petted, the one single tear that ran down my eye, the fact that I was at the car trying to get my clothes out because it was getting cold. We were in Telluride, Colorado, and I didn't have the keys. She knew everything I'd been doing and everything I'd been thinking for an entire hour. And it was, you know, and that's why, because we have developed the ability to filter all of this stuff out, because if we were constantly having, you know, all the people around us, their thoughts going through our head with ours, and, you know, and everything's morphing and moving, and there's all the geometries and energies and stuff that actually exist, and all the full spectrum of light, we wouldn't be able to function. And so that's why psychedelics facilitate those kind of experiences. They're also why we have, or they're not why. They are the reason that they tend to catalyze like synchronicity type experiences is because of the inter-region communication in the brain that is enhanced. And so normally non-communicative, deathly afraid of White Castle, I don't know what that means. The regions of the brain, the default mode network and the conscious, basically two regions of the brain that don't normally communicate are communicating when you take psilocybin or LSD and probably all the rest of them. And so Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist that actually coined the term synchronicity, said that he noticed that this stuff happened when the patient bridged the conscious and the subconscious mind. And the mechanism that could possibly facilitate these synchronicities, it's hard to imagine what that could be. Oh, I can't believe you just said that. Can we teleport on acid? Yes, I think so. I mean, I'll tell you what happened. I can't really totally get into it because it involves, I'll sort of summarize, but I swear to God, I think it actually happened to me the other night. I mean, I'll tell you what happened, and all I can say is that from my subjective perspective, it did happen. And it was, I thought I was dead. Oh my God, I can't believe you just asked that. Yeah, well, that's only, Alex, that's only subconscious. I mean, I'm not trying to encourage you to drive on acid, but I used to love to take like 200 micrograms and go drive my Beamer around my X5, and it handled so nice. And like I said, X Games athletes, it's like routine for them to take 100 micrograms and to compete, because all of your senses are enhanced. You know, if you think that you are impaired, then you're going to psych yourself out and you're going to be, you know, but it's not real. I mean, I always take LSD when I perform, and you can watch videos of this, like, definitely not impaired. And also people would always say like, what got into you tonight? You know, it's like, well, LSD. I mean, so I was saying about the synchronicities, that the reason that when people, you know, you'll see that when people smoke DMT, they're like, man, everything's fucking weird now. Daniel Pinchbeck, the author, I know he's been canceled for being a creepy weirdo or whatever, but in his book, he called it an occult hangover, because you just experience all this like rabbit hole crazy shit for, you know, a week after smoking DMT. And it's because you have been plunged into the subconscious mind, which is exactly what Jung said caused it. And it happened when, you know, I had a friend come to visit. We had a much more powerful experience than we had intended. And we were, you know, I talked about this in the last live stream, but I don't know if it's the same people watching now, so I'll tell you again. I made a video a while back where I was saying that when I think about coincidences involving 211s, they tend to happen. And later I was looking to put a card to my 1111 video, and it's a 31-minute video shot in 4 different places and then out of sequence. And if you click on the 1111 marker, I say 1111. And what I'm talking about is how if I mention or think about those type of coincidences, they happen. And so you can accuse me of editing on purpose if you want, but I don't even edit the videos. So now you're accusing me of conspiracy. You know what I mean? To like fool people or whatever. That is the Phoenix process video. If you want to see it yourself on my channel, click on the 1111 marker. And then it happens again. I say, I'm talking about a type of meditation where you freeze the image in your mind. And as soon as I say that, the video glitches and my face freezes. So we're talking about that video with the 211s coincidence, right? So I lost my phone the day before, and we went into town to go and find the phone, and we got it, and my friend happened to just, something happened and he said synchronicity as I was playing my phone out, and we both looked at it and it was 11:11. So, and I mean, can you imagine that? That kind of stuff was happening a bunch while he was here. Can you imagine things from his perspective? This guy sees my videos. He sees me, you know, do this, the Phoenix process video. He's seen that where it just, after all of the thing, everything was said and done, when you click on 11:11, I'm saying 11:11 and I'm talking about how thinking about that kind of thing catalyzes these experiences. And he flies here to Ecuador and it happens right in front of him here with me, you know, like repeatedly. And, you know, there's no way that I can engineer that kind of stuff, you know? I mean, it's not the kind of thing that you could even, like, accuse me of what would you call engineering or fabricating or... I mean, the one video you could say that maybe I edited, but you guys, look at my editing jobs and well, they're not even mine. My girlfriend does it. I mean, they're fine, but it's obvious that we're not, like, super sophisticated is all I'm saying. But that's it, you know, when you bridge the conscious and the subconscious mind, for some reason, these synchronicities happen more and more and more and more and more. And I think that I know why. I mean, I know how they happen, sort of, but it's difficult for me to, we're running out of battery, to articulate it, I guess, but it has something to do with symmetry. Symmetry exists in the temporal scape. There is a word for that, the timescape, or you know what I'm trying to say. So when we have these experiences of, like, internal reflecting in the external, I think they can be understood by understanding the symmetry that underlies all phenomenology, you know? So, and I'm talking about that. There's 16 viewers and 16 likes. You know, there's the symmetry. So I don't know, I've been talking for 2 hours, you guys. Please hit the like button, share, subscribe, support us on Patreon if you want access to the secret stream, the next secret stream. And you can actually join just for that one if you want to, by making a contribution to our PayPal or Zelle. We have been demonetized, so we get no money. We have a wallet address for crypto contributions. Man, I had one more really good, yep. Killing Synced, I don't know if that's how to say it, but that's Snowballing Awakened. Yep. That's what happens. It is. I was actually planning on using that snowball analogy to describe something before I started doing this live stream, and I wish it's 1717 now. The symmetry is gonna stick. It's just gonna keep going 1818. But anyways, yeah, we really appreciate the support. We really need it. Join the Discord. I have 2 of them. One of them is a conscious crypto and investing. I am in a bunch of groups where we get good signals. Also, I'm looking for projects that are actually having a positive impact. So eco tokens, Yummy, you know, the kind of things that are feeding. Yummy Finance is donating $100,000 a day to feed people. So if you're going to buy some shit coins, that is definitely one to get. But anyways, we're going to, you know, we're screening all of the, I won't even allow, basically what I'm saying is crypto projects that I think are using marketing for, or charity for marketing. I'm looking for the ones that really, really are making an impact, like Seeds Currency and these really, really amazing groups that are really trying to use decentralization to redistribute the wealth and to redistribute information. I mean, there's value even in the NFT platforms, which I think is something that people overlook, because musicians and artists can protect themselves and actually start making a living again. What is Shutaib? I don't know what that means. So yeah, and using crypto also, I mean, the amount of money that a cryptocurrency can make in its first couple of hours, if even a part of it is being directed towards conservation or psychedelic research or some kind of charitable cause. It's just, we have a tremendous amount of power, but we need to focus and act in union if we expect to really affect any meaningful change with it. And that's something I feel like we're missing. What do you mean, the comment above about me getting back to the USA? I mean, yeah, I just, I feel like, well, I mean, the main thing is that with COVID, there's no ayahuasca industry. So, you know, I was really amazed that I could just go to a foreign country with no plan, which is what happened basically, because the industry I was working in the United States just suddenly disappeared. So, you know, I just kind of like found myself in Ecuador and stayed, and, you know, we've been doing fine for 3 years. But as my health, you know, this problem with my liver shutting down, hopefully that's what's happening. I'm starting to worry that maybe I have cancer or something worse. I mean, it's just, I've been really feeling bad. So, you know, between COVID and my health problems, we're just, I don't know what else to do but to go back to California, because I feel like it would be a lot easier for us to make a living there. So, well, there were a lot of foreigners in South America doing ayahuasca, but they're not so much. Plus, I'm in Ecuador, not Peru, and Ecuador does not get the tourism that Peru does. Although in some ways it's better because it's not like it's, you know, what is the place where everyone goes? The island in Peru in the Amazon, Iquitos. You know, we don't have that like super commercialized. I think it's a lot easier to have a authentic experience here, and you know, it's just not so touristy. There's more variety in the drugs. Yeah, I mean, you know, easy access to LSD is definitely important to me. I really do like acid a lot. And it's $10 a hit here. It's like $1 in California. No, well, you can have ayahuasca. It's not illegal. You just can't ship it into the United States. 11:11 p.m. So thank you guys so much for watching. One more time, please do support us. Join the Facebook group. Tomorrow I'm having a conversation live with, no, I haven't heard of Silly Ben. Should I hear of Silly Ben? Live with the creator of 420 Coin, which is, they created it because a friend of theirs was severely injured and he is taking all this fentanyl and he's really damaged, and so, and also his life is destroyed, and so they want to make money to help him, and also they want to make money for cannabis research and legalization efforts. And so the first video for the Conscious Crypto channel is going to happen tomorrow. I'm going to have it on this channel as well, and I'll have a link to connect to the other channel. So please do subscribe to the other channel. Join my Discord, because I'm really trying to build some community both around this channel and the investment thing, because we really need to focus where we're going to put our money and who we're going to empower. That is like our main strength. We have seen what, you know, you know, one of the best lessons that I've learned from watching cryptocurrency, being in Discord groups. People come together and they say, okay, we're going to pump this token, and they make each other rich in an hour. And then, you know, if they have whales in the group helping, it's just like a school of fish with a whale, where everyone is working in. Of course, Charles, man, if I come back to the States, we'll figure it out, bro. You know, so the whales will warn they're about to sell and the price is going to drop. They'll be like, you have 15 minutes, pump, 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 and everyone pumps. And then the whales are like, get out, look out below, you know, and then the tree falls and you got to sell real fast. But, you know, we could do that kind of thing with conscious people and really empower, you know, the kind of people that used to reject money, because I think that they also didn't want to take responsibility for being the people that have to affect the kind of change that's going to save the world. And, you know, we have to embrace that. It's a blessing just as much as it's a curse. Everything in the universe contains its contradiction. There's no way around it. So we just have to fucking deal with it, you know. It is what it is. So good night, you guys. Please hit the like button, share, subscribe, support us on Patreon. You can send crypto to the wallet address in the description or the chat. PayPal and Zelle to the email. And I'll see you again very soon. Join the Discords. And, we really... Oh, I didn't say anything about Israel or Palestine, man. Look, the only reason I'm mentioning this, I'm not an expert on the ins and outs of this, but I've mentioned this to a lot of people, and they're like, oh, Hamas is really bad, and the Palestinians are a bunch of terrorists. And it's like, that's kind of true, but it's not, because they're just a bunch of psychos or something. Israel is occupying Palestinian land, and they have been genociding them for 50, 75 years. I don't know how long it's been. They're withholding water, electricity, food. It's not like Israel is the innocent victim of terrorism. Yeah, Israel created Hamas. I actually worked with a girl whose father was assassinated by Hamas, and they're so brainwashed, the Israelis, by the propaganda, that she was saying they keep letting him out of prison and he just kills more people and no one can understand why. And it's like, are you serious, you dumbass? It is because he works for Israel that Israel is letting him out of jail even though he keeps killing people. That's how intense brainwashing is. And, it's not just a thing in Israel. Americans are brainwashed. Europeans are much less brainwashed, but still brainwashed. And, again, man, the only reason I really ever talk about politics is because it is a great way to illustrate cognitive dissonance, cognitive bias, selective perception. And I do believe that the antidote to the atom bomb is gnosis and enlightenment. But I also think that gnosis and enlightenment are not really what a lot of people think they are. The first thing that you have to do is have the courage to see the world as it is. And most people embrace spiritual systems that are designed or that compel them to project and to believe that it's about seeing the world as they want to or something, or that they're going to be able to use their imagination and nothing else to create the world that they're imagining or whatever. It's not what it is. You have to see the universe as it is. That's what enlightenment really is. It's the ability to transcend, cultural, provisional programming and to harmonize your consciousness, or to create homeostasis in your consciousness, and to eradicate perceptual aberrations like cognitive dissonance and cognitive bias, selective perception, because it's like if you have cancer and you insist on perceiving it as the common cold, you're going to die. And that is what I think most people do. And they're encouraged to do this by the propaganda machines and the media and the political systems. And it's very easy to get people to embrace their delusions because they are comforting. I would imagine, I had never fell for it, so I don't really know what it's like to have my worldview challenged in that way. I grew up totally outside of society, and I've remained outside of society even to this day. I'm sitting on the edge of the Amazon rainforest. I've had a bank account for 1 year or something in my entire life. Like, I don't know what it's like to believe in the Democratic Party or the Republican Party and then suddenly, like, oh my God, it was all a lie. I can kind of understand that it's very difficult for people to realize that the people that they've believed in their whole lives do not have their best interests at heart. None of them do. And that, it's almost like a video game governing people. There's they don't care about human beings. They just don't. Every president since, the military-industrial complex has really taken root has come to terms with the fact that they're going to send innocent children to kill other innocent children solely for profit for their bosses. If you're going to trust those people with anything or believe in them, I'm scared of you. I'm sorry. I mean, seriously, it's insane. And it's so obvious now that it's frightening that there is a single person that can look at Joe Biden or Kamala Harris and see something positive and see a leader and see anything but sociopathic puppets of, you know, monstrous, heartless entities. That's all there is there. And, you know, the same thing on the other side. It's no better. It's not. And I know it's terrifying and horrifying for people to come to terms with that, but it's a necessary part of this process that you cannot refuse knowledge because it doesn't pander to your prejudice. And that is what nearly 100% of people do. That's what selective perception is, you know? Yeah, man, I almost ended up in Iraq even when I was a kid. The first time, I had to go AWOL to get away. Yeah, I mean, you know, you guys, my issue with conspiracy theorists is not that they believe in conspiracies. It's super stupid not to believe that there are conspiracies. My issue is that they think they know more than they possibly could, and a lot of them believe in all kinds of stupid shit. And the ground, the fertile ground for the seeds of this kind of crazy lunatic logic is religion. That's why, you know, most conspiracy theories originate with far-right Christians, because they have created a psychological precedent that it is okay to believe in shit that's obviously ridiculous just because you want to or something. It's not a coincidence that the same people that believe in insane conspiracy theories are also religious. Not a coincidence. At the same time, it is completely moronic to think that with a tiny, tiny group of people consolidating, I mean, everyone, when things get too obvious, not even the most brainwashed person can get around it, right? So pretty much anyone will say like, okay, yeah, money is power, and money and power corrupt, and you can't trust a politician, and 1% of the population controls almost all the wealth, but conspiracy theorists are all idiots. Excuse me? So you're just saying that Elon Musk can fart and crash cryptocurrency, and this is what he does in public, and you think that people aren't conspiring on a global level behind closed doors because, I mean, you agree that people in power kindled the same energy that lights the stars on their enemies, not a military, on a city full of women and children, but you don't think that they would make up a virus and lock you all in your house when they're worried that the peasants are about to eat them? Like, people are really determined to ignore obvious reality, I'm afraid, you know? Yeah, I mean, come on, man. It's super stupid to believe in the mainstream narrative, just as dumb as it is to believe David Icke, you know? There's just really, I just can't even mince words and be polite about it anymore. What is this? Is that the one that what was his name? The president that ordered an attack on a U.S. ship? And this is real. This is not a conspiracy theory. The phone call recording exists. There's proof. All of the guys that got off the ship were interviewed no, that's not correct. They were all debriefed when they landed, and some of them have told the story on their deathbed, and they all match. So Lyndon Johnson, yeah, I know Rudolph Steiner. Lyndon Johnson wanted this boat. I can't remember what. Maybe you know, Charles. I can't remember why he was wanting to sink the ship, but he ordered a fleet, or not a fleet. I don't know, what do you call a squadron of unmarked Israeli jets to bomb U.S. soldiers. Can you imagine most like right wingers trying to resolve their cognitive dissonance to the point where they understood that a U.S. president had actually ordered an attack on an American ship? And people are so brainwashed that even though there's proof of this, almost no one will even consider it. But like the phone call is like, it's obviously Lyndon Johnson, and he's like, I want that fucking ship on the bottom of the fucking ocean. And so they bombed the hell out of it, but it didn't sink. And then when it came back to shore, the Navy higher ups, you know, they took all the survivors into a room and they said, if you ever talk about this, we'll kill your families. So like a dozen of them pretty recently on their deathbeds, you know, confessed and said like, yeah, this happened, blah, blah, blah. And then someone dug up the phone call. So one of the things I'm trying to get across here is that when people make a decision that they're willing to kill people in mass, I think the idea that those leaders would only do that to some other country's population and not their own is completely naive stupidity. It makes no sense. If they're willing to kill people for profit, they're willing to do it anywhere. They don't care if it's Americans or Japanese people or whatever. If you're willing to murder for profit, you're willing to kill anyone. And so when people say like, oh, they wouldn't have attacked us on 9/11 or whatever, I mean, you know, Building 7, dude, it fell for no reason. Like, obviously, I mean, it's the craziest thing ever. Like, watch the videos. It just blows. It's obviously a demolition. Like, watch other demolition videos. And there are military experts, there are demolition experts from the military, all kinds of different engineers and stuff that have all said, like, there's no fucking way that this happened the way they said. No way. So I think, you know, it's not about being afraid. I'm not scared. I don't care, you know. We're all just one eternal consciousness. If they kill you, you'll just pop up somewhere else. Who cares? Don't be afraid. And I think that's one of the reasons that they suppress consciousness, because if we all knew that we're a telepathic eternal consciousness, it's kind of hard to scare anyone or control anybody or use fear to manipulate. And that is the only tool that they really have. Okay, so seriously, guys, I'm starving. I've been talking for 2.5 hours straight. Please, one more time, hit that like button. Share these videos because I really need to grow the channel. We've been demonetized. They kept all of our money from AdSense for 2 entire years. There's PayPal and Zelle in the description, and there is a wallet address you can send crypto to. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you again very, very soon.